के उच्चायुक्त श्री अजय कुमार जी, भारतीय समुदाय के मेरे भाइयों और बहनों, आप सबको मेरा नमस्कार। मुझे ये बहुत खुशी का अवसर है कि पहले युगांडा के मेरे पहले विजिट पे आज जाने के पहले मुझे आप सबसे मिलने का ये अवसर मिला और मैं आप सबको आभार प्रकट करना चाहता हूँ कि आपने समय निकाला, शाम को आप लोग यहाँ आए। और मेरे लिए यह पहला दौरा है युगांडा का। जब प्रधानमंत्री जी 2018 में आए थे, उस समय मैं भारत सरकार में नहीं था, तो वो मेरा दुर्भाग्य था कि मैं उनके साथ नहीं आ पाया। पर मेरे मन में था कि मैं युगांडा आऊं, क्योंकि आप जानते हैं कि हमारे बहुत ऐतिहासिक रिश्ते हैं और बहुत महत्वपूर्ण रिश्ते हैं। और कहीं न कहीं एक ये भी था कि कोविड महामारी के कारण बहुत सारे दौरे जो हम लोग आमतौर पे करते वो भी नहीं हो पाए। परंतु इस समय जब मुझे निमंत्रण मिला यहाँ के विदेश मंत्री से, तो मैं तुरंत जितना जल्दी मैं आ सका मैं आ गया और मैं आप सबके सामने। अब मैं पिछले 3 दिन से मैं यहाँ कंपाला में हूँ और कंपाला के अलावा मैं कुछ और शहर भी गया था। आज मैं जिंजा में था और कुछ ही देर पहले मैं वहाँ से लौट आया। और मेरे कार्यक्रम में दो बड़े प्रोग्राम थे। आज जिंजा में एक विश्वविद्यालय का उद्घाटन हुआ जो नेशनल फॉरेंसिक साइंस यूनिवर्सिटी कहलाता है। अब कुछ लोग इससे परिचय होंगे। ये गुजरात में ये विश्वविद्यालय कुछ साल पहले स्थापना हुई थी, जब मोदी जी मुख्यमंत्री थे। ये उनका एक किस्म से पर्सनल विजन था, कमिटमेंट था। फिर 2020 में उसको एक नेशनल स्टेटस दिया गया और आज वो विश्वविद्यालय जो है इंटरनेशनल बना। और ये गुजरात के लिए गर्व की बात है, हमारे एजुकेशन सिस्टम के लिए गर्व की बात है और सबसे ज्यादा हमारे रिश्तों के लिए ये एक बहुत महत्वपूर्ण बात है। दूसरा कार्यक्रम जो था, कल युगांडा सरकार के वाटर रिसोर्सेज मिनिस्टर और मैं, हम दोनों ने इसकी वर्चुअल उद्घाटन की कि एक भारतीय कंपनी ने सोलर वाटर पंप के तहत 500,000 माने 5 लाख आबादी को घर में वाटर पाइपिंग की संभावना दी है। ये युगांडा के 20 रूरल डिस्ट्रिक्ट्स में है और एक किस्म से जो हम भारत में कर रहे हैं, जो आप सब जानते होंगे, जल जीवन मिशन के बारे में सुना तो होगा। तो जो भारत में कर रहे हैं, ये एक किस्म से अब हम इसको भी इंटरनेशनल ले गए हैं और ये जो है इस स्कीम का, इस योजना का कल हम लोगों ने उद्घाटन किया था। तो ये भी कोई छोटी बात नहीं थी और मुझे लगता है कि यहाँ अगर कुछ लोग जब घर में पानी आएगा भारत के बारे में सोचेंगे तो हमारे लिए तो अच्छा ही होगा। परसों जब मैं युगांडा पहुंचा, तुरंत एयरपोर्ट से ही मैं राष्ट्रपति मुसेवेनी से मिलने गया। वो अपने फार्म हाउस में थे और उनसे बहुत अच्छी मीटिंग हुई। वो बहुत उत्सुक थे, बहुत, इट वाज वेरी वार्म, very I would say for me really a very noteworthy experience, and I have met many leaders in my life, and over the last 2 days, whether it is my counterpart जो विदेश मंत्री हैं, डिफेंस मिनिस्टर, वाटर मिनिस्टर, ट्रेड मिनिस्टर, with the military leadership, I would say they were very important members of the Ugandan government with whom I had the possibility of sitting down and exchanging views. Now, from community point of view, जब मैं आ रहा था मेरे मन में था what is it I discussed which would be of interest to you people. और मुझे लगा कि 3 विषय हैं, ये अभी हुए नहीं है, इसकी बातचीत हो रही है, पर मुझे पूरा लगता है कि ये संभावना जो है we will be able to realize it in the coming days. One was the possibility of direct flight. मैंने कहा संभावना है, पर ये मेरा फर्ज है कि ये संभावना को मैं हकीकत बनाऊं. I told them saying when I go back, I will definitely take it up with our civil aviation authorities, with my civil aviation minister counterpart, and I hope next time I come, and I will come very soon, and I will tell you why I will come very soon. So the next time I come, I hope that I will come on a direct flight. The second issue, और ये युगांडन साइड से उन्होंने काफी इस पे रुचि प्रकट की, whether it is possible to have an Indian hospital here. Now, I am sharing it with you not as a promise, but as an expectation from you people, कि आप लोग जो हैं, आप में से कोई न कोई ये सपना जो है इसको पूरा कर पाए. तो ये मैं आपको एक किस्म से चैलेंज दे रहा हूँ कि टुडे many Ugandans, many of you go back to India for medical treatment, and the time has come, क्योंकि जो कोविड महामारी का समय जो था, all of us have become more health conscious. So it is very important to have health facilities very close by, and you know, health industry in India is today Indian doctors, Indian hospital, Indian specialists, they are of a very high order. मुझे लगता है कि जब कभी कभी लोग सॉफ्ट पावर की बात करते हैं, तो आप सोचिए कि हमारी जो मेडिकल कैपेबिलिटी जो है, ये भी एक किस्म से सॉफ्ट पावर है, और हम तो जरूर चाहेंगे कि ये सॉफ्ट पावर जो है युगांडा की धरती में भी प्रकट हो. तीसरा विषय जो था, ये था कि मैंने काफी विस्तार से राष्ट्रपति मुसेवेनी जी को भारत में जो डिजिटल परिवर्तन जो हो रहा है, कि बड़े बड़े डिजिटल पब्लिक डिलीवरियां हो रही हैं, उसके बारे में मैंने बात की. और मुझे लगा उनसे, उनके मंत्रियों से और कुछ और लोगों जिनसे मैं मिला, कि जो भारत में जो डिजिटल प्रगति जो हुई है, जो आप सब जानते हैं कि आधार कार्ड के कारण आज बहुत सारे योजना, बहुत सारे जो लाभ जो आम आदमी को सरकार से जो मिलती है, वो डिजिटल माध्यम से मिलती है. और ये भी जो है, जो इसको इंडिया स्टैक हम कहते हैं, कि भारत की जो डिजिटल कैपेबिलिटी, डिजिटल एक्सपीरियंस जो है, वो हम बाकी देशों के साथ कैसे शेयर करें. और उसमें जब हम हमारे साझेदारों को देखते हैं, तो इसमें जरूर युगांडा जो है, इसका जो प्रायोरिटी जो है वो साफ दिखाई देता है. अब मैं आपको ये भी थोड़ा मेरे साइड से मैं शेयर करना चाहूंगा कि आप लोगों के बारे में राष्ट्रपति जी ने क्या कहा. और मैं ये सचमुच आपको कहूंगा कि मुझे जो गर्व जो महसूस हुआ कि इंडियन कम्युनिटी के बारे में, ही वॉज सो वार्म, सो अप्रिशिएट व्हाट इंडियन कम्युनिटी हैज डन टू बिल्ड युगांडा, द कंट्रीब्यूशन दैट यू हैव. when I reach Delhi, I will certainly tell Prime Minister कि हमारे यहाँ परंपरा है कि जब भी विदेश मंत्री बाहर जाते हैं वापस घर पहुंचते हैं तो प्रधानमंत्री को फीडबैक तो देते ही हैं. So this very very strong appreciation that President Museveni shared about the community, I will certainly convey to Prime Minister, and I can tell you he will feel as proud as I do today listening to him. बट उन राष्ट्रपति मुसेवेनी के साइड इसके अलावा एक मैसेज भी था, और मैसेज ये था कि युगांडा एक किस्म से रिसोर्स रिच कंट्री है. आज यहाँ डेमोग्राफी भी बहुत माने यंग डेमोग्राफी है, रिसोर्सेस है, ठीक लीडरशिप है, विजन है. तो वो चाहते थे कि खासकर उनकी अपेक्षा थी कि बिजनेस रिलेशनशिप्स बिटवीन इंडिया एंड युगांडा, this should focus on what he called creating value addition. So when I met the trade minister, when I yesterday met the businesses who are here, this is something which I shared with them, and when I go back to India, this will be my message to Indian businesses also. That today, the time when countries in developing countries imported things from Europe or from developed countries, or even I would say in some respects from China, that era should be replaced by making more in our own country. In the case of India, you are all familiar, आप जानते हैं, make in India से तो परिचय है. But similarly, it is a natural desire in Uganda to make in Uganda. And if India is a partner of making in Uganda, this is something which will certainly, I think, solidify our relationship. Now, from all my discussions, because I have finished my meetings, this is my last engagement, but आप जानते हैं कि बिना community से मिले no foreign minister can go back. You will not get re-entry back in India. So, as I finish my discussions, I ask myself, what are the big takeaways from this visit? I would say there are for me 3 big takeaways. The first takeaway is that the Modi Sarkar always keeps its commitments. Prime Minister came here in 2018. Whatever commitments he has given, those have been fulfilled. When President Museveni went to India in 2015, the commitments which were made to Africa as a whole, but of which Uganda is such an important part, those too have been largely fulfilled. And they have been fulfilled despite the fact that for 2.5 years there was COVID. Despite the challenges of the COVID, जो भी हमने वायदा किया था, whatever आश्वासन दिया था, today those are on the ground. And in fact, the project which brought me here, this university, I must tell you, there was discussion going on for some time. But last year, once President Museveni wrote to Prime Minister Modi saying, this is something which is important for me, immediately you can see in a matter of months, this is the India today which is different. In a matter of months, we can actually establish an investment. The second takeaway for me was, how do the Ugandan leadership, the Ugandan government, the Ugandan people, how do they see India? And I must tell you, and I say this as someone, जैसे कि हमारे हाई कमिश्नर साहब ने आपको बताया, I have done more than 40 years in diplomacy. Today, we get a respect in the world. Not only a respect in the world. Many countries feel today that India is there for them, that their concerns, their worries, their interests, India will take up on their behalf. And that is something I felt very strongly during this visit. And there is very good reason for it. During pandemic, you all know, दुनिया में ढेर सारे वैक्सीन पड़े थे, बहुत सारे देश थे जहां आबादी से 4 गुना ज्यादा, 6 गुना ज्यादा, 8 गुना ज्यादा वैक्सीन उनके पास थे, and they did not share it. Today, 100 countries recognize that many of them, that the first vaccines they got, they came from India. And even in the case of Uganda, there were vaccines that we sent, and before vaccines we sent medicines as well. And there was also vaccines which they got through the COVAX initiative. So the vaccine Maitri has changed India's image in the world. It has created today a very strong sense of solidarity among the developing world. And now there is a new crisis. You all know, वो यूक्रेन में जो पिछले साल से जो युद्ध जो चल रही है, उसके कारण तेल की कीमत हो या अनाज की कीमत हो या फर्टिलाइजर की हो, जो विकासशील देश जो हैं, they are all feeling today that their economies are under great pressure. Many of them have seen global demand is down, trade is disrupted, insurance rate has gone up, shipping rate has gone up. So it has affected everybody. But if you ask, saying ये मुद्दा कौन उठाता है, ग्लोबल काउंसिल में इसको कौन सामने रखता है? Answer is, till India stepped forward, actually nobody was doing it. So today, India has a great responsibility. It's the responsibility of the presidency of the G20. Now, this presidency of the G20, there have been other presidents before us. But I want to share with you, this presidency today, India is doing in a way in which it has never been done before. In two ways. One, at the direction of Prime Minister, in January this year, we actually consulted 125 countries. Prime Minister himself, 5 ministers, and there was a reason. प्रधानमंत्री की सोच थी कि अगर हम सबके साथ ये कंसल्टेशन के माध्यम से उनकी जो चिंता जो है, उनका हित जो G20 पिछले साल, it was very preoccupied with one issue. So how do we today put forward the interests of countries like Uganda, like other African countries, like countries in Asia and South America? So this is a very different, a very new exercise that we have done. And this is today giving us, I would say, a stature and respect in the world. A very large part of the world today feels that, yes, Narendra Modi is our Prime Minister, we all know that, but very large part of the world feels Narendra Modi is there for them. The other change, of course, is how G20 is being celebrated in India itself. G20 involves about 200 meetings, and I have been attending G20 for about 10 years now. Now, normally, G20 is done in the capital, it is done in 3 or 4 major cities, but we are doing G20 in almost 60 cities of India. We are doing it in every state and union territory. We are making it a really national enterprise so that the entire country feels that they are today they are stakeholders in the G20. So if you come today to India, from point of entry, आप एयरपोर्ट में उतरेंगे, आप जहाँ भी जाएंगे, घर जाएंगे, मेट्रो में जाएंगे, टैक्सी लेंगे, होर्डिंग देखेंगे, आपको लगेगा कि G20 की वहाँ एक उत्सव मनाया जा रहा है. That is the way today we are handling G20. And I must tell you, there is enormous enthusiasm and support in this country, because today the entire country is much more globally aware. They want to join with what is happening in the rest of the world. And G20 has given them today the possibility of doing that. The third is, of course, politics, because finally politics, that is, मेरा धंधा तो वही है ना. तो जब बाहर जाते हैं तो पॉलिटिक्स की बात होती है. और आज जो है, बहुत ऐसे देश हैं जिनको लगता है कि दुनिया में जो दुनिया की स्थिति जो है, खासकर छोटे देश जो हैं, और कुछ देश जो छोटे भी ना हो, उनको महसूस होता है कि वो दबाव में है, कि जो शक्तिशाली देश जो हैं, जो विकसित देश जो हैं, वो अपने हित के लिए दूसरों को उनकी नीति बदलना चाहते हैं. उनको कहते हैं कि भाई इस मुद्दे पे आपको यही करना चाहिए. तो दुनिया में ये भावना है विकासशील देशों में ज्यादा कि आवर इंडिपेंडेंस ऑफ चॉइस, आवर सॉवरेनिटी, वी हैव टू प्रोटेक्ट दैट. And that today is again a place where India is giving leadership, and I can tell you the same feeling that we in India have, I also saw in Uganda. The kind of sentiment, हम लोग कभी कभी कुछ कह देते हैं, आप जानते हैं, but the same almost I would say sentiments that desire, that independence streak, I also saw here. So this is today also something which is bringing us together, and I mention it because this year, at the end of this year, beginning of next year, Uganda will also take up a very important responsibility. Like we have taken on the presidency of G20, Uganda will take on the presidency of the non-aligned movement. And I have promised to the Ugandan government, to the president, that India will do everything in its power to support a successful presidency of the non-aligned movement by Uganda. So ये संक्षिप्त में जो भी मेरी बातचीत जो यहाँ हुई, मैंने सोचा कि मैं आपके साथ, आपको तो जानना ही चाहिए, आप लोग यहाँ रहते हैं, तो आपको कम से कम जो भारत और युगांडा के बीच में जो भी हो रहा है, जो बातचीत हो रही है, जो रिश्ते जो बढ़ रहे हैं, उसके बारे में जानकारी होनी चाहिए. तो मैं आपको थोड़ा घर के बारे में भी बता देता हूँ, क्योंकि मुझे पता है कि आप वो भी जानना चाहते हैं. सबसे पहले तो मैं कहूँगा कि आप पता नहीं आप लोग माने हर कितने महीने में घर जाते होंगे. 6 महीने में तो जाते होंगे ना, साल में तो जाते होंगे. हम आप 2 years नहीं, 2 years तो ज्यादा है. तो चलिए एक चीज मैं आपको बताऊं, अगर आप मेरे से पूछेंगे कि घर की क्या खबर है, तो मैं कहूंगा कि मूड बहुत पॉजिटिव. जो वो डायलॉग था ना कि हाउ इज द जोश, तो जोश इज वेरी हाई, एंड जोश इज वेरी हाई फॉर वेरी गुड रीजंस. फर्स्ट, पीपल इन इंडिया, बिकॉज जस्ट थिंक लास्ट 3-4 years, wherever you are in the world, 2 years for every one of us went in COVID. You know, there is not, I think, in any country, anybody who said, I am unaffected by COVID. Either we got COVID, या कोई नजदीक, कोई परिवार में हो, कोई दोस्त हो, कोई पड़ोसी हो. So, 2 years of COVID, then all these other problems, these economic problems which have come out, partly because of this Ukraine conflict, but other problems also. So if you look at the state of the world is actually very tough. But if you come to India, the mood is good because people feel today that we have come through COVID. Yes, we came through at a great cost. But I must tell you, the national self-confidence which came out of dealing with COVID, which came of the fact that we could set up very quickly COVID centers, that a country, when COVID first came, हम लोग तो कुछ भी नहीं बनाते थे. मुझे उस समय प्रधानमंत्री उन्होंने एक ग्रुप खड़ा किया कि 4-5 मंत्री थे जिनकी जिम्मेदारी थी कि वी मॉनिटर कोविड, वी वुड रिपोर्ट टू हिम एवरी डे. मैं उसमें से सदस्य था. एंड व्हेन वी लुक्ड कि भाई देश में कितने मास्क बनते हैं, कितने पीपीई बनते हैं, कितनी वेंटिलेटर बनती है, वेरी ऑनेस्टली हम तो घबरा गए. आई मीन यू एक्चुअली सॉ हाउ लिटिल वाज मैन्युफैक्चर्ड इन इंडिया, एंड येट विद इन अ मैटर ऑफ वीक्स, मंथ्स, you actually saw what is the real spirit of India. And we were able to set up COVID centers in thousands. We were able to produce medicines for ourselves, even for the world. उस समय आपको याद होगा, there was one medicine called hydroxychloroquine. और दुनिया में कहीं वो खबर फैल गई थी that this is very very good treatment for COVID. There was a huge global demand. We were able to meet that demand. So and then when vaccination came, there were countries who did not have vaccines. There were countries who had vaccines but वो vaccination कर नहीं पाए. They did not have a scheme, they did not have a system. Then there were countries जो vaccination कर पाए वो आपको certificate दे नहीं पाए. So these were all the challenges of COVID. And the Indian public saw we could make vaccines. We could have made in India vaccines, we had invented in India vaccines, we had a system of vaccination, वो कोविन platform बना था, where everybody got their certificate also. And it was done in a very, very systematic way. And every time there was a crisis, you saw government could raise the level of its response very much higher. So, though it has been a very painful period, I must say, that the COVID experience actually has resulted today in a nation feeling that yes, we are India, we are capable of things, we can in many ways lead the world in many areas. So that is why today that sense of we can do something, this is very very strong. The second is actually economic. Because again, there are many countries in the world where they are struggling with their economy. Even developed countries are having a very tough time. But in India, we are today the largest of the large economies. We have the highest growth rate which India will see. We'll see this year, we will see in the coming years. And this is not just a growth rate. It is also backed by we have had the highest ever exports. Just few days ago, Piyush Goyal ji announced that our exports for the first time have crossed $750 billion. We are also attracting the highest ever FDI, the foreign investment flowing into India. We are the #1 FDI destination in the world. And for a country where for many years we did not give attention to manufacturing, today even that has changed. And the example which people talk about is actually Apple. That iPhone, which was made in another country for many, many years. Today the new iPhone is made in India at the same time as it is made in India. So these are two examples. But the real change is not only out of COVID, it is not only out of just the economy. It is actually the change we have seen 10 years of change, 9 years coming on to 10 years. A change in the leadership, change in the vision, change in the commitment and change in the delivery. And I will tell you why. During COVID, yes, medical, health, vaccination, these were very big issues. But equally big was actually how to feed people, how to support people who lost their jobs, how to deal with people who left cities and went back to their homes, how to deal with informal sector who had to shut down their shops and shut down their services. And that is when actually India discovered its real strength. Because if I give you the numbers, I assure you, you will actually, because this is a conversation I have with many people abroad. For the last 3 years, since COVID started, Indian government gives free food to 80 crore, 800 million people. 800 million people. And it is because Prime Minister took this decision that we did not have the problems which 100 years ago actually happened in our country during Spanish flu. Not just give food. आप लोगों को याद होगा जब वो प्रधानमंत्री बने थे, उनकी एक अपील थी कि सब लोग अपना बैंक में खाता खोलें. People found it very strange, भाई पैसे नहीं है तो कैसे खोलेंगे? Then he got that also fixed and said, no, please open your account. It is because he insisted on opening bank accounts that today we are able to put 42 crore every month. 42 crore, 420 million payments are made into the accounts of people. These are the people who need this money for very basic things. So today, if India has come through this, nobody complains that they lack food. People got money for their necessities. But this was during COVID. Some of it continues. You must also see the change which is going on. And particularly जिन्होंने कहा कि मैं 2 साल से नहीं गया, आप जहां के भी हैं, आप जाकर देखिए वहां क्या हो रहा है. आज जो है, we have a whole set of योजनास. प्रधानमंत्री जो बैंक ट्रांसफर की जो बात कर रहा था, वो प्रधानमंत्री गरीब कल्याण योजना थी. जो फूड सपोर्ट जो था, वो अन्न योजना थी. और एक आवास योजना, अंडर आवास योजना, government has supported people financially to build 30 million houses, 10 crore houses. And if you think 5 people live in a house, that means 150 million. 3 times the population of this country. Population of Japan. Population of Japan has got home ownership in the last few years. There is a program many of you would have heard called Ujjwala. और मैंने सुना था कि वही समस्या यहाँ भी है कि लोग फायरवुड यूज करते हैं. और प्रधानमंत्री जी कहते थे कि यूजिंग फायरवुड इज लाइक स्मोकिंग मल्टीपल पैक्स ऑफ सिगरेट एवरी डे. अब व्हेन वी चेंज अंडर उज्ज्वला firewood to gas cylinders, the number of beneficiaries were 8 crores. 9 crores actually. The 9 crores is the population of Germany. तो आप ही समझिए कि भारत में किस स्केल में परिवर्तन है. That you are able to feed people who are the size of Europe and America. You are able to put money in bank accounts for entire European population. You can give houses to the size of Japan. You can give gas cylinders to the size of Germany. And I can give you many other examples. So it can be support which is given to Kisan. It can be even जो वेंडर जो है, जो इनफॉर्मल इकोनॉमी वाले जो है, उनको पहले बैंक कहते थी कि भाई कोलैटरल दिखाओ, उनके पास कोलैटरल था ही नहीं. अब टुडे दे कैन गेट लोन्स, दे कैन गेट अनसिक्योर्ड लोन्स. एंड वन थिंग आई वुड से, मुद्रा हो या ऐसी स्वनिधि जैसे स्कीम हो, इंटरेस्टिंग थिंग है जो लोन लेते हैं, द लोन रीपेमेंट रेट इज वेरी वेरी हाई. तो जब सरकार पब्लिक पे विश्वास करती है, लेट मी टेल यू, पब्लिक रिपेज इट इन फुल. एंड दिस इज द पावर ऑफ मोदी जी, दैट he is able today to trust people, and people feel that obligation. So this too is part of what is the change you will experience. But wherever you go today in India, you will see some building, some construction going on. Roads are being built, metro is being built, housing is happening. it is, if you go to a village, last year Prime Minister told us that it is 75 years of our independence. तो उनकी ये एक गुजारिश थी, he said, every minister, every member of parliament, आप लोग जो हैं अपने क्षेत्र में जाएं, अपने जिले में जाएं, and in every district, please ensure that there are 75 sarovars that are built. It's a very simple thing. बारिश आती है, बह जाती है, nobody retains water. And you know, water is the biggest problem in our country. Now, just this, I mean, look at the clarity of this vision. That 750 districts of India, every district, big pond, small pond, big project, you actually ended up with 50,000 new water bodies. It is very simple at one level, it is so effective at another level. So, these are the kind of changes today that are taking place in India. And these, I am describing to you sometimes physical change, but you should also see the mindset change of people. मैं भारत में मेरी आदत है, I go to many universities. I see one very interesting change. Before you go to university or you go to a school, people will say, this person came first in the class, ये हमारे gold medalist है, ये हमारे silver medalist है, ये board के topper हैं, इन्होंने अच्छा किया. Today you see something very different. People say, इनकी patent है, इनका innovation है, please spend half an hour, ये अपना project दिखाएंगे. This is actually a different India, a different young generation that is coming. A generation today which is actually feeling that we have it in us to do things differently, to take India on a different route. That confidence actually Prime Minister has been able to instill in the country. So, if I were to sum up all this, आप लोगों ने ये, you would have heard this very often, आत्मनिर्भर भारत. कभी कभी आप बैठ के सोचिए, विचार करिए, what does आत्मनिर्भर भारत mean? आत्मनिर्भर भारत at the end of the day is actually a confidence. ये आत्मविश्वास की भावना है कि we are capable of many things. We need a leader who will give us the confidence that we can realize that capability, who can give us the policies that will enable us to go in that direction. And it is happening. You know, I'm sharing with you different aspects of it. That today manufacturing is coming back. Today exports are booming. Today digital India is moving forward. If we take a look at really the speed of digitization of India, it is faster than any other society. So this whole, I would say, transformation of India that is taking place, this is really what New India is about. This is what the world is noticing, and this is something which all of you sitting here must be aware of. I hope very much the next time you go to India, you will yourself be able to experience it. But I also want to say this New India today can in many ways, its relationship with the rest of the world can become much stronger. That there are many more opportunities coming out of this India for you. But before I conclude, let me also say a few lines, because till now मैंने कहा कि आपको भारत में क्या हो रहा है, आपको कैसा लगता होगा, मुझे कैसा लगता है. मैं आपके साथ ये भी शेयर करना चाहूँगा, how does the world see us? Because if we have changed, their perception of us would have also changed. I think very clearly people see our economic change. They see our economic strength. We are today the 5th largest economy in nominal terms. We are very confident by the end of the decade, we will almost certainly be the third largest economy. Secondly, today people see a different India. India which is willing to stand up, and India which will meet its national security challenges. So, whether it is Uri or whether it is Balakot, today the forces that who have indulged in cross-border terrorism against us for decades, और जिसको हमने बर्दाश्त किया है, they now know this is a different India. This India will give them a reply. That is also. But that is not the only border where there is a challenge. There is also a challenge on the China border. आप सब लोग जानते हैं for last 3 years in violation of agreements, Chinese had brought large forces. Today, the Indian military is deployed at very great heights in very tough conditions out there. And I can tell you the difference is that our soldiers have full backing, they have the right equipment, they have the infrastructure, which of course more work has to be done because it has been neglected in the past. But this is a different India which will stand up for its interests, and the world will recognize that also. It is also a more independent India. This is an India where if we are put under pressure, if countries tell us where we should buy our oil and where we should not buy our oil, this is an India. This is an India which will do what is in the interest of its citizens, its consumers. But it's also, that's not the only situation. We sometimes are also told, we had joined a group called Quad. अब कुछ लोगों को बुरा लगा, अब लगा तो लगा. We had done some years ago, in 2007, also Quad had come. But at that time, the countries involved in it, they bent to pressure and gave up. This time we are very clear. If Quad is in global interest, it is good for the world, it is good for all of us. We will do whatever is necessary. So it is not just one issue. This is today a different India which will take positions which will be determined by Indian national interest, and that is very much, you can actually see that in the personality of Prime Minister Modi. But this is also a caring India, and particularly for Indians abroad, for Indians in a country like Uganda. You must appreciate this. This is an India which is producing vaccines for itself, but we will say that aapko bhi zarurat hai, I am prepared to share whatever I have with you. This is an India which is willing in any other area. I mean, we had recently an earthquake in Turkey and Syria. Aapko yaad hoga. Within one day, on Prime Minister's instruction, we were able to send out a disaster relief team. Our military, our professionals were able to open a hospital there in Istanbul for Syria, which, many countries actually did not even look at their problems. We actually sent medicines in large quantities. So this is an India which today cares for the world, which is prepared to put its capabilities. It could be earthquake in Nepal, it could be what happened in Turkey, it could be Mozambique mein kuch saalon pehle ek cyclone hua tha. So this is an India which is there for the world, and that is also something the world knows. This is also an India of ideas. अगर आप पिछले सालों में देखें तो big ideas. अब सोलर एनर्जी, अब वी ऑल वरी अबाउट ग्रीन, क्लाइमेट चेंज हो रहा है, क्लाइमेट चेंज के लिए अच्छा सोल्यूशन बताइए. अब जानते हैं वन पार्ट ऑफ द सोल्यूशन इज रिन्यूएबल एनर्जी. द बिगेस्ट चैंपियन ऑफ सोलर एनर्जी टुडे इन द वर्ल्ड इज एक्चुअली India, because we are the leaders of something called the International Solar Alliance, which was an idea of Narendra Modi during the Paris Conference. But I give you a much more immediate example. आप सब लोग मिलेट्स जानते हैं ना, रागी, ज्वार, बाजरा. Now, because of Prime Minister Modi, we got 2023 declared as International Year of Millets. And you have to, I was today in Jinja, and I saw that they had a dish made of ragi, which was very, very similar to what you get in Karnataka. So, why am I mentioning ragi? Because there is today a food shortage in the world. There is a food shortage in the world, and it cannot be met by increased production of wheat and rice very quickly because they take a lot of water. So again, do think this is a Prime Minister who is thinking of India, he is thinking very practically, he is thinking of the world, he is thinking of the future, he is thinking of the environment. So he is feeding also, but he is caring for the environment also. That is really the India that the world sees. It also sees an India of talent. It sees an India of people like all of you. And today, as Foreign Minister, I can tell you, when I go to Europe, when I go to other developed countries, a lot of these countries today are interested, how do I get Indian talent, Indian skill to come to our countries? And what we tell them is, yes, it is possible, provided they get the right treatment, provided you treat them the same as you treat the nationals, you give them the same level of salary, you look after the social security payments. So, the talent and skills of India today is also being recognized. But most of all, it is the India, the Bharat, the civilization that the world is today recognizing and respecting. It may have started with the International Day of Yoga, but in the last 9 years, people can see today that this is an India that believes in its history, its culture, its heritage, which is proud of itself, which is not trying to imitate the West, which is once again, as we did many centuries ago, reclaim our place in the world. That is the India that the world sees. And the world sees that partly because one of our unique qualities, one of our unique assets, I would say, is actually the Indian community abroad. Because when finally, even my experience here, I will tell you, from the President, from every minister I met, from everybody I talk to in this country, when they think of India, they think of an Indian. They see a face, they remember an experience. It is you people who shape what the world thinks of India. So, I want to tell you, in conclusion, that people sometimes say that, after Narendra Modi became Prime Minister, the government of India has started to give more respect, more recognition, more attention to the Indian community. Maybe it is true, but I want to say that it is an attention, it is a respect, it is a recognition that was long overdue. If India stopped, if people today talk about the rise of India, a large part of it is actually the hard work done by our community abroad, by our diaspora. So at the end of my remarks, I want to tell all of you, on behalf of your motherland, a very, very big thank you.